I was born in Richmond, Indiana in 1950, in a quiet Midwestern town, not yet knowing the story the world had waiting for me. In my life, I grew up in different houses, surrounded by loving relatives, but never in the same place for too long. From the age of 5 to 13, I lived with my mother's parents, very spiritual, very disciplined, and deeply rooted in tradition. And even when I lived with my parents, my grandmother sent a taxi every Sunday to take us to church. It was just that much of a commitment to her. And Sundays were sacred. No TV, no games, just checkers. That day belonged to God. It landed on me. I leaned in. The children that I was playing games with, they said I was whitewashed. That's when I learned I was different. That moment opened my eyes to the fact that the world was divided, black and white, and there were lines that you didn't cross. When I was 7, my mother was hospitalized. I didn't know what mental illness was. I just knew she was gone. My friend's father worked at the hospital. He told me she had an electric shock treatment. I didn't understand, but I never forgot. That was the start of my lifelong interest in health, the mind, and the human condition. Even in struggle, our family gathered in joy. The strength of our people was always at the table. I learned to walk between two worlds, learning their lessons while carrying mine in silence. I began asking questions about life, about spirit, about what it meant to be black in America. Those early years were the foundation, laid by faith, shaken by pain, and shaped by the power of knowing who I was becoming. Something was planted in me, something sacred, and in time it would grow into purpose. I was 18, working nights at the foundry. Heat, smoke, and grinding steel told me one thing: I had to find a way out. I thought about the Air Force, but something deeper stirred. A whisper said, "There's more to you than this." When the letter came, it was like the sky cracked open. January couldn't come fast enough. Howard, it was more than a school, it was a portal. I stepped onto sacred ground, vibrating with rhythm, purpose, and destiny. That's where I awakened, where my spirit caught fire. Howard didn't just educate me, it redefined me, especially with the conversations I participated in. I came to Howard to be an accountant. Numbers gave me structure. It was something solid to work with, solid to hold on to. But the campus, it pulsed with another rhythm, with another vibration of life. Revolution was in the air. I felt it bumping, thumping in my chest. Something in me changed. It was a switch. The words were lightning. I couldn't stay silent any longer. I joined the protests. My voice, my spirit rose with the people. That was the real classroom, here in the streets, making real change. I switched majors. I needed to study us, our truth, our history, our glory, our wounds, our sacrifices, our challenges. I received a scholarship in Afro-American Studies. It affirmed that I was on the right path. We were the first, the beginning of something sacred. Our degrees were declarations in a path and a destiny that we set out to define. Studying African history, it lit something inside of me. It was more than knowledge. It was spirit itself. Q.T. Jackson, who was head of the Howard Student Association, mentored me. He sharpened my fire and gave me an inspiration that I hadn't had before. My first pull, attraction towards black metaphysics, it came through the brothers that were studying in the pharmacy school. The air when we met was thick with purpose. I was assigned to famine preparation when food and resources run out. But what we were really preparing for was deeper, a collapse of the soul. Roots was born there. It was called Rebirth of Old Time Substances. It was a call to return to sacred knowledge. Meditation silenced the noise of protest and books marching through the streets. We found revolution inside breath. We planned the roots spiritual retreat, like farmers planting medicine in dry soil, fertilizing it with our ideas and the acts and actions we would take. They called it fringe, of course. We called it memory. Not everyone wanted the old ways reborn in today's society. The first Roots retreat was a sacred happening. Mind, body, and spirit aligned to the cosmos. Our symposium covered meditation, herbalism, naturopathy, and astrology, all tools for evolution and liberation of mind, body, and soul. QT just saw us and said Roots was the revolution spirit made visible. We carried the torch forward.
This is Jimmy Faye, Channel 5 Stone Jive, the all-black station for all black people with all the news that grooves at noon, live from Oakland, California. As you are probably aware, several local mystics have predicted a landing from space this afternoon here at this spot opposite the Sector 5 government building in the person of a black musician and thinker named Sun Ra.
After a Sun Ra concert, I met Jeff Edison from Detroit. The universe shifted, a cosmic bond began. At Howard, we built a rhythm of records, ideas, bonding, and long talks over crust and the cosmos. From DC to Detroit, we traveled lines of thought and highways, always circling back to each other, round and round. In Ghana, our steps echoed with the ancestors. We stood together while history still breathes. Dick Gregory wasn't just a mentor. He cracked open the sky and showed me the world beneath it. He taught me sacred science. He showed me that food was your medicine, and he taught silence as power, spirit as your compass. My first air fast in Florida, it tested my flesh, but awakened something older than flesh that was sleeping inside of me. At Plymouth Rock, I fasted again. This time, the earth fasted with me, and we listened. Through fasting, through him, I found my breath, the true self beneath survival. In 1974, Roots hosted a powerful symposium bringing together seekers, scholars, and spirit workers, all to teach the metaphysical science. Kanye, the astrologer, and Dr. John Moore, the oboe herbalist, shared deep insights into cosmic rhythms and natural healing. The gathering, it sparked very powerful, very meaningful conversations connecting ancestral wisdom with modern day awakening. Afterwards, Kanye and Dr. Moore invited me to their retreat in New York, a place for deeper study, deeper awareness. With a backpack and an open heart, I traveled to New York City, seeking deeper clarity, deeper connection, deeper meaning. At the retreat, I found a community of healers, drummers, like-minded seekers who were all drawn to ancient truths. There, I met Eugene Reynolds, who shared word of this teacher that was in New York that unified all the teachings into one understanding. He spoke of a brother whose classes were a synthesis, bridging the gap between astrology, spirit, and healing the community all together. His words stayed with me. I knew I had to meet this teacher. It felt like some sort of destiny was calling out to me. I went to the Friday night class. The energy in the room, it was thick with anticipation. When he spoke, it was as if though he'd studied every source that I had. He was speaking not to me, but to my spirit, to my soul. He brought everything together. Astrology, metaphysics, chemistry, it all clicked in that moment. The next morning I went for a jog. And there he was on the sidewalk, like the ancestors placed him right in front of me, speaking. I knew at this moment that this was destiny. In DC, he built bridges across oceans, drafting blueprints for Africa's rebirth in the heart of the diaspora. He rallied minds and means, sending plans, resources, and purpose back to the land that birthed him. When his feet touched the soil, the red soil that the ancestors stirred, it was welcoming a son returning not as a visitor, but as a vessel. Between spirit and strategy, he drafted the future, rooted in culture, wisdom, knowledge, and watered by tradition. He brought water to the people where there was thirst, and hope to the people where there was only dust and memory. Through the Songhai mission, he connected the people to a program that will teach them to be self-sufficient and sustainable. And back in Nkonya, he was crowned, and mission met destiny, bloodline met purpose. That night, a sacred tale resurfaced, the tale of a stolen princess and her hair returned to complete the circle. The water trembled in her bowl, a queen would vanish from the land, yet in her blood a fire whole, a king would rise from distant sand. The forest called, the hunters moved, while blessings marked their fearless track. She watched them go with purpose proved, unknowing they would not come back. They struck when all was fast asleep, with chains and fire they took their prize. The queen was bound while elders weep, her name was stolen from the skies. Her body sailed through storm and brine, but still her spirit rode the breeze. She whispered through the bloodline's spine, one day return across the seas. They wept beneath the mourning tree and sang the names the winds once knew. May her child return, they cried, in robes of fire and light made new. She bore the weight with lifted chin, a lion hidden in her frame. Though sold, her voice still lived within and etched her spirit in a name. From ash and grief, a town took root. They shaped a name from pain and hope. Her spirit slept beneath their boots, awaiting one who'd break the yoke. She sang beneath the cracking sky, her voice disguised as working tune, but hidden in her daughter's eye was prophecy beneath the moon. They'll call you slave, but you are flame, she whispered as the candle wept. Your feet will walk where lions reign and wake the crowns our fathers kept. The name he bore was not his own, but love still carved a sacred vow. In shackles wait a scene was sown, the weights to crown a son somehow. The hammer fell with every beat and sparks flew like ancestral stars. She told her child when flames repeat, your crown is not too far. No priest, no law, no wedding gold, just truth exchanged beneath the trees. I'll love you when our chains are old and freedom's carried on the breeze. The soldier read what none believed, as chains dropped gently to the floor. Yet Sam still stared with jaw unweaved. We're free, he said, but nothing more. He worked the fields he once survived, his wage a whisper in the breeze. Your hands must build, he said, and strive until our drums are free indeed. The tracks hung deep beneath his feet as factories smoked beyond the dawn. I'll take us north, he said, to beat the curse our roots have made us drawn. He read of blood, of mobs of flame, of cities torn by hate and fear, but still he said we keep the name and carve it louder every year. The furnace hissed, the engine sang, while sparks drew fire in his palms. He shaped a lion from the chain and passed it down like it was psalms. The war was far, the orders near, yet he marched like his name was flame. The country owes, he said, an ear to where our power from which it came. He built the metal, he shaped the steel, yet kept the drawings close and dry. Each line roared from ink so real that none could call it a simple lie. He cried like drums in midnight's arms, the house lit soft with prayer and glow. This boy, he said, will break the charm and rise to bring us light and hope. The book spoke drums, the air stood still as kings and stars burned through the page. I am, he whispered, the dream they willed, a storm reborn inside this age. A lion walked across the sky, a voice said, rise and know your place. He woke with purpose in his eye and wore the name like flame on face. He built a house with names of old, where gods remembered how to speak. A temple rose without pure gold, but with the roar the stars still seek. He walked through fire not made of flame, his tongue became the sword he knew. Each trial etched into his name until the gods said he's renewed. No throne of stone, no scepter bright, just sacred hands and words of lore. He bowed, then stood in fullest light, a son of kings returned once more. The path was earth, but stars still led, and whispers rose from every leaf. You are the one, the silence said, the seed grown tall from buried grief. From steel and scroll to sacred ground, he stepped where blood once cried in flame. He is the one the elders found, the queen returns through his name. One beat and Chromo breathed again, the drum awakened from its sleep. Her song arose from tree and wind, the vow the queen had vowed to keep.